So today's message, I was thinking about titling it, and I thought, who will jump first into the waters? Right? We're going to read about John chapter 5, verses 1 through 13, and we have a situation. Let's read and then we'll talk. But the title is that we'll read a little bit. I'll make an introduction after we read. So it's verse 1. And I'm John chapter 5. It's called the Jesus comes to Jerusalem and heals a lame man. I'll give you time if you want to open up the Bible, but since we don't have the same translations, maybe you can just listen to it. And it says, after this, a Jewish festival took place and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well, whatever disease he had. One man was there who had been disabled for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and realized he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the disabled man answered, "I have no one to put me into the water, into the pool, when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, someone goes ahead of me." "Get up," Jesus told him, "pick up your mat and walk." Instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "This is the Sabbath. The law prohibits you from picking up your mat." He replied, "The man who made me well told me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" "Who is this man who told you, 'Pick up your mat and walk'?" they asked. But the man who was healed did not know who it was, because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. After this, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you're well. Do not sin anymore, so that something worse doesn't happen to you." The man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who made him well. So we're going to actually take this passage. We're going to talk about it today. I'm going to give a little short message today about it. But also Wednesday, I'm going to open up for discussion. I'm going to ask a number of questions today that I'm not going to answer, so that you can listen to it maybe throughout, maybe tomorrow or whatever, and think about some of the questions. And then when we come back on Wednesday, we'll read it again with the larger group, and we'll discuss it. We'll open up to meditation. We're just meditating, basically, about the story. But the title of the message today, who will jump into the water first? We have a situation here. Jesus goes to Jerusalem, goes to a place called the Bethesda pool of it's a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, and apparently it had 5 columns, right? It was architecturally a significant place, so that they're defining it with the 5 columns, the colonnades. And there were a number of people, a large number of people lying there, and they were disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. Right? And then there's like a little insert that every so often an angel will go into the water and stir the water, and whoever jumps into the water will be healed. I can't think of anything in the Bible before this that has anything to do with that. We have no picture of such thing when an angel will go into a water and stir it and somebody will jump in, will be healed, right? Think about that. Jesus goes up to this guy in verse 5. He was disabled for 38 years. He picks a man out of the crowd. There was a large crowd of disabled people, but he picks one. And this man has been in this condition for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and realized he had already been there for a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" So I'll stop there and ask you a couple of questions to you. So Jesus comes in. These are the questions that I want you to think and come back on Wednesday to discuss. Why does he pick this man out of all the other men or all the other females that were there? You don't have to answer it, just think about it. Why this man? What made him single out this man out of everybody else that he could have healed that day? These people were, the people that were sitting there, there were a large number of them. They were disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. Now I want you to think about this. How can sin disable, blind, and paralyze us? How could sin disable us, blind us, and paralyze us? Jesus asked him the question, do you want to get well? Why the question? The guy has been in this condition for how long? 38 years. Why the question? Do everybody, think about we see like a physical ailment here, how it crippled his life. But generally there's a deeper meaning in the matters, right? What is the deeper meaning that like this is the kind of like the earthly picture of it, but what is the bigger spiritual picture here? Sin. And when you go up to somebody and you ask him, do you want to get well? You have to ask him. He may not want to forsake his sin. Have you ever thought about it? He may not want to leave his life behind. You remember in the little while ago, in the little video, he says, "You're not coming back here." Jesus asked him, do you really want to get well? Do you want to leave this life behind? What is the picture about this angel stirring up the water? And whoever jumps in will be healed. What does that picture remind you? So angel was stirring up the waters, and whoever jumped in first will be healed. What does that remind you? What does baptism do? Whoever goes through the baptism, through the waters, dies to their old life, comes out to the new life, the sin loses its power, right? Everything that ailed them, they have an opportunity to be set free from those things. Have you ever thought about it? And who's doing it? Not an angel. The Lord of the angels is enabling us. Jesus, who is the Lord of all angels, the God of angels, the Lord of angels, Jesus is using the waters, like almost like a picture that is like almost like a small picture, showing us what is coming, where we leave our old lives behind, come to a new life into the kingdom of heaven. The man answers him, "Sir," verse 7, the disabled man answered, "I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me." What is the man saying? You know what I'm hearing?
It's not ready.
Well, have you ever felt helpless? When you're paralyzed, don't you feel helpless? When you're blind, don't you feel helpless? When you're disabled, don't you feel helpless? Have you ever felt helpless? And that you feel like no one has been able to help you in the past? The man is saying, like, look, I have no one. I just can't get help I cannot cross from here to there. So Jesus says to him, get up. Jesus told him, pick up your mat and walk. Instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat and started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, this is the Sabbath. The law prohibits you from picking up your mat. He replied, the man who made me well told me, pick up your mat and walk. We have a picture here of the state of the Jews at the time of Jesus. There's this incredible thing happening in front of their eyes. They're so blind they cannot even see it. I was just thinking about like some of your lives have changed from the moment Jesus has contacted you and you cross through the waters to the other side. And people are pointing out their fingers at you and criticizing you. And they're saying like, hey, I feel like we've talked about how sometimes our family members are criticizing us. Sometimes the religious people that are criticizing us, they cannot see the miracle. And people's hearts are hardened. Who is this man who told you, pick up your mat and walk? They asked. But the man who was healed did not know who it was because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. After this, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you're well, do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. Where did the man go after he was healed? Where does Jesus find him? In the temple courts. Why? Who is at the temple courts? As soon as he gets healed, he's clinging on to his God. Temple courts is where God's house was. He's not going out to the market. He's not going to Longhorn Steakhouse. He's not running back to his household. He's not going back to his city. Where is he going? He's running to the presence of God. Why? Because he understands what has taken place. Who has set him free? That life is over for him. He's never going back to it. Jesus says to him, see, you're well. Do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. What is that worst thing can happen to him? He has been paralyzed, disabled for 38 years. Have you ever thought about it? What worst thing can happen to him? That Jesus says, stop sinning, otherwise a worse thing will happen to you. What is the worst thing than being disabled for 38 years? I hear death, but I was just thinking of the fires of hell. I mean, it is painful to be disabled, infirmed, on earth for 38 years, but there's something worse can happen to us. Right? Jesus is saying, stop sinning, otherwise something worse will happen to you. As I was thinking about it, so let me introduce this whole thing, let me summarize the whole thing, and let me conclude this whole thing. As I was pondering on this story, what is the significance of this story? Is it just about Jesus going around and healing another man? Is there something more to it? What's up with the story about the angel stirring the waters and whoever gets in first is healed from whatever ailed them? And that Jesus comes in, the Lord of the angels comes in to the scene and transferring this man to the other side without even stirring the water, because there's a better waters that he's going to use. Jesus is going to use better waters than this pool. And here's somebody greater than an angel making the waters produces fruit, does the healing, the forgiveness, the cure. As I was thinking about this whole story, the title was, Who Will Jump into the Waters First? If we only understood that, like, wow, Jesus came so that he can actually take our disabled, blinded, paralyzed lives when we were in sin, and he, through the waters, will take us into the other side. Our old lives are going to be over, and the new lives will start here on this side. And it's Jesus who's going to do it. And if we don't go from here to there, something worse is going to happen if we don't stop sinning. And you guys know perhaps people who have been in this disabled, blind and lame and paralyzed state for decades, hopelessly sitting there. And the question becomes question that Jesus will ask: Do you want to get well? Jesus is never going to take somebody's free will. It has to be his will. So I'll conclude this today. I told you it's going to be a short message. So you guys can look over this for the next couple of days. I'll send a video to you guys so that you can hear some of the questions again. And again, I don't know if you're going to find more answers or not. We're just meditating on this passage. What is Jesus trying to do? What is Jesus trying to teach us? Why did John record this, the story? And what is the lesson here, perhaps for us? So just on Wednesday, we'll come in and I'll ask those questions, and I won't do the talking. You guys will help us to kind of meditate on this story of the Bible.